Hello, today we're doing lesson 13.2. We're defining general angles and using radian measure. Angles in standard position. In a coordinate plane, an angle can be formed by fixing one ray called the initial side and rotating the other ray called the terminal side about the vertex. So if we take a look at our coordinate plane, whenever we are asked to put an angle on a coordinate plane, we're always going to start with it on the x-axis, and we are always going to rotate counterclockwise. An angle is in standard position if its vertex is at the origin and its initial side lies on the positive x-axis. And if you take a look, think about this, if you go all the way around, it forms a circle. A circle is 360 degrees. The coordinate plane is broken up into 4 sections, so each section is 90 degrees. So if it was a 90-degree angle, we would draw the terminal side on the y-axis. Sorry, my lines aren't too straight. It was 180 degrees, we would put it on the negative x-axis. If it was 270 degrees, we would put it on the negative y-axis. We're going to put an arrow to determine which way we're going because we will have some negative angles. And we're also going to talk about if we had an angle like 200 degrees, how far past the 180 it is. So we'll just go ahead and start with some examples. Okay, draw an angle with its given measure in standard position. So you're going to go ahead and start on the positive x-axis. It's 240 degrees, so I know it's definitely going to go past the 90, it's definitely going to go past the 180, but it's not going to hit 270. So what I do is I'm going to do 240, and I'm going to subtract 180. I want to know how far past 180 degrees it is, and that is 60 degrees. So I'm going to go ahead and draw it somewhere between the 180 and 270. I'm going to draw my arrow, and then what I would like you to do is I would like you to label how far past one of the axes it is. So this would be 60 degrees. Okay, let's try a negative angle. So we're still going to start in the positive x-axis, always, whether the angle is negative or positive. It's less than 90 degrees, so I know it's not going to hit the 90 degrees going in the negative direction. So we're going to go ahead and put the terminal side between the 0 and 90, and then we're going to draw an arrow going to the left because that's how our angle is going to be negative, and that is 50 degrees. And it's okay if you put a negative 50. You don't need to because showing the arrow going to the left is telling me it's negative, but I would not mark it wrong if you did. Okay, go ahead and pause the video and try the U-try. Now notice on the U-try it's 500 degrees, so for sure it has to make a full circle. So for sure, you're going to draw a full circle. You're going to subtract 360 from that and find out how much more you need to do. Okay, now the next thing we have is radian measures. So a radian measure is another way to measure angles. We have degrees and radians. Angles can also be measured in radians. To define a radian, consider a circle with radius r centered at the origin as shown. 1 radian is the measure of an angle in standard position whose terminal side intercepts an arc of length r. Because the circumference of a circle is 2 pi r, there are 2 pi radians in a full circle. Degree measure and radian measure are therefore related by this equation. 360 degrees equals 2 pi radians. We don't usually use the 360 degrees because if I divide both sides by 2, we get the second equation. 180 degrees is equal to pi radians. This is what you need to know. If we look at this, it says if you are converting from degrees to radians, you are going to multiply by pi over 180 degrees. If you are converting from radians to degrees, we are going to multiply by 180 degrees over pi. Now it'll be obvious what to do because if we have degrees and we're going to radians, you want the degrees to cancel out. If we're going from radians to degrees, we want the radians to cancel out. Okay, so let's take a look at the examples. It says convert the degree measure to radians. So I'm given degrees. I need my degrees to cancel out, so that means my 180 degrees must need to be on bottom, and then the little degree symbol will cancel out. Then on top we would have pi. Now I would prefer if you leave these answers in fractions, so what you would do on your calculator is do 125 divided by 180, hit equals, and do math fraction. So this answer would be 25 over 36 pi, and please label it as radians. Now you can put the pi on top. I just write it next to it. Either one, it's the same thing. Okay, negative, it's okay. We're still going to multiply by pi over 180 degrees. Degrees cancel, so we have negative 50 over 180, hit enter, and do math fraction, and you'll get negative 5/18 pi radians. Now go ahead, pause the video, and try the U-try. Now, converting from radians to degrees, we want the pi's to cancel out. So notice the pi's on top, so we're going to make sure it's on the bottom this time. So that way they will cancel out. That means the 180 degrees need to be on top. So I would do negative 180 degrees, see the negative sign here, divided by 12, and that's going to give me negative 15 degrees. Again, we're going to put the pi on bottom, 180 on top, so I would do 5 times 180 divided by 4. When you do that, you get 225 degrees. Okay, go ahead, try the U-try problem on your own. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, go ahead, write it at the bottom of your paper, and I'll see you tomorrow in class.